What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the shop. Today we have something that I find a little interesting. It's the Cougar Airface RGB case. Now first off, and I have to get this out now, the name Airface makes me think of Taserface from Guardians of the Galaxy. So I can't say it too many times, otherwise I giggle. But this is a relatively new style of case from Cougar, and I have built in it once before. But that case was used for a project for a coworker, and it never made it on the channel. But I liked it enough that I am going to be using it in a build. That's going to be the next video. But for right now, let's do the unboxing. At the time of filming, this case comes in two colors, white and black. I built in the black one before, but I have a very sleek white build planned that we're going to be using this one. I order cases sometimes months in advance, and I'm always afraid that one of these days I'm going to open it and have a busted glass panel or something like that. Luckily today, that doesn't seem to be the case. So right off the bat, this case is clean. Some of the things that are often overlooked haven't been here. For instance, the thumb screws on the back are silver, and even the cables for the fans are white. Now, not all the cables are white. Your audio cable, your USB 3.0, those are black, and that's standard. There's really no way around that with case builds, and honestly, I don't even know if they have custom color extensions for that. They might, but I've never shopped for it. But speaking of fans, this case comes pre-installed two 140mm fans in the front and one 120mm fan for the back. There is space up top too for additional fans and an AIO, which we'll get back to. So here on the front of the case, you don't mind if I switch to this side, everything is mesh and has decent airflow. This front part of the panel should pull right off. And our air filter is right here in the front. It's a little snug, but it helps keep the dust out. These fans are RGB, and we have a little RGB bar down here at the base as well. So airflow and filtration, really good for this case. Now taking us around to the side, tempered glass panel, one thumb screw at the top. Once that's out, pull forward, and then up to release your panel. One thing I'm going to mention real quick about the fan cables, they seem to be properly routed, which is not a big thing, but it's one of my pet peeves, so thank you, Cougar. One thing you'll want to watch out for is if you're using larger graphics cards in this build. I don't like cases that leave a ton of extra space, and this case is not one of them. So just for perspective, this hole right here is where your third standoff would go for a full-size motherboard. And your rubber grommets are right next to it. This is where your cables feed in, so there's no extra space here for a front AIO. Maybe a thin one if you squeezed it in, but with your motherboard coming up to this point, that leaves very little space for a large graphic card. So if you did squeeze in a 280, you'd probably have to go with a 2-fan card. Just keep your measurements in mind when you're buying. But as you can see, we have plenty of space up top for an AIO and fans, along with pass-throughs for cables, so it won't be tricky to work with. The back of the case is fairly standard. And another thing to note while we're back here, you can mount your graphic card vertically. The graphic cards are getting very thick, but this does have a 3-slot configuration for that. Mounting hardware sold separately. Moving on to the rear panel, 2 thumb screws here. Once you have those loosened up, just pull back and it pops right off. The space between that back panel and this area here is wide enough that cables shouldn't get in the way. I don't know about you, but I've built some computers that bow out a little bit and back, but that shouldn't be a problem here. Our power supply will sit right here. If you're rocking hard drives, you've got space for them over here. But this is also removable, so keep that in mind. And over here, you'll notice that we have a pre-installed fan hub that'll take care of our fans, our RGB, all of that. There is a 3-pin 5-volt connector, so we can put these directly onto our motherboard. If you're using an older motherboard, or maybe a motherboard with a broken header, when we switch over to the top here, we do have our power switch, but this second switch, if I'm not mistaken, can also cycle through your RGB colors. We then have a single port headphone microphone jack, USB 2.0, and a couple USB 3.0s. There is a magnetic filter on top depending on which way your fans are going, or if you just want to keep everything covered and looking nice. Oh, I forgot to mention, in addition to these bays down here, if you have SSDs, you can attach those right to the plate here. Each one has their own separate mounting bracket, along with thumb screws, so you can put 2 down here and 2 up here. So overall, this case has everything that I'm looking for at this price point. It has a clean white aesthetic for my build. It doesn't take up a huge footprint, and it comes with pre-installed RGB fans. Not only the front fans, but including a rear fan, which if you see some cases with including fans, a lot of them skip this one. I have some very, you can call it special, or at the very least, very specific parts selected for this case, which we're going to use in my build in the next video. Next video, you say? Yes, I did. So like, subscribe, tell your mom. I'm just kidding, she knows about me already. Because the next video is going to be awesome, and if this turns out the way that I think it is, it's going to look so good. But thank you as always. I appreciate you finding this video and watching, liking, subscribing, and helping this small channel grow. I really hope to see you in the next one. It's going to be awesome. Bye.